legends? I hope you're all fantastic. Today, we've got the Rocktron Chameleon 2000 on the bench today. Thank you so much to patron saint of the channel, Mr. Brian Hook, for sending this one over. Basically, it's a 4-channel DSP-based preamp with some built-in effects. On the back, really simple. You've got like outputs, you've got the 4-pin power connector, which is kind of weird, and you've got MIDI in and out. There's an input on the front with input and output level. Then you've got the Rocktron trio of encoders there to help you navigate, and a preset selector and power switch on the front of the unit. Let's dive straight in. We're gonna get started with the clean preamp mode in here. There are 4 preamp modes: clean, Texas, British, and Mega. I've just created a preset from scratch with the clean preamp, which you can see by going to the preamp mode and selecting the channel. What I find really interesting about the parameters on the preamp modes or the amp models on here, you have the selection of the channel, then you have the amount of gain, and then the next parameter is variac adjust. Like right at the top of a guitar player's priorities. You know what I want to do? I want to get in there, I want to adjust the variac. Before you get bass, before you get middle, treble, or presence, or the bright switch, you get variac adjust. Very interesting choice there. I've also got the compressor in on here, as you can see, and I have the speaker sim disabled because I'm running this straight into Pro Tools, and I've loaded up some stereo power amp and cabinet simulation on there. We will hear the built-in speaker sims maybe later in the video, but needless to say, there's a reason I'm choosing to do this with power amp emulation and impulse responses. Let's hear the neck pickup of the Strat clean. Now that does have a bunch of compression on it, but it is really clean. It actually feels pretty good and bouncy under the fingers. Let's just add some effects to this now. So if I scroll through the parameters, you can see, basically I have this config select over here. So you can see that this particular preset has gain, which is the preamp mode, chorus, delay, and reverb. Let's bring a bit of reverb in here. I've got the reverb level all the way up, and then I've got the decay at about halfway. It's not the greatest reverb I've ever heard in my life, but it's also not the worst. Let's crank the decay all the way up. How much reverb can we get out of this? So you can get some really nice, almost infinite verb out of that thing right there. It's not too bad. There also is a damping control on there, but let's do this. Let's just turn the decay back down to about 60. Let's bring in some delay now. The way I've set up the delay, it is a dual delay in here. So I've got the delay level at -3. I've got the source to be direct, meaning it's just processing the dry signal. So I guess internally it's routing blocks either in parallel or in series, and then I've got the delay high frequency damping at about halfway. Then what do we have here? We've got, this is delay number 1, it's about 300 milliseconds. Again, you can't get exactly 300 milliseconds because these come in 8 millisecond chunks, as you can see. So as close as I can get there, and then a bit of regeneration or feedback, and then the second delay is pan on the other side, and about as close as I can get to double that, or I should say, the two delays are in about a 75% ratio. It's obviously 408 is not double 304. What's wrong with me? Let's just hear this delay. So pretty basic delay on there. Just out of curiosity, how much delay can I get out of this? Oh, we can get a lot of delay out of this. Check this out. Up to 2000 milliseconds. So I've got a really short delay and then a really long delay. This might be really cool. With the reverb cranked all the way up, let's do that just to see what we can do. Again, that's kind of interesting that you can get that much delay out of this particular unit. I don't know if the IntelliFX can do 2 seconds or not. I can't remember. Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know. Let me just kick in this chorus. It's a 2-voice chorus. I've dialed it in pretty similar to the way I would dial in a chorus on the IntelliFX. So it can kind of do the 80s-ish cleans, which I know a lot of people looking for rack mount units are chasing that particular sound. The Chameleon can do a pretty decent approximation of that sound into a power amp and cab. Alrighty, let's do this. Let's maybe just flick the chorus off for now. I will leave that big reverb and delay on, but let's just change the preamp mode to the next one, which is called Texas. And at these settings, this is interesting that you can get this sound out of this preamp. Really smooth, really, I don't know. It reminds me of something that you might hear on like a kind of modern guitar instrumental thing as a character tone. But let's turn the compressor off for this and hopefully not blow our eardrums out. So I'll go back to the preamp. What do we have here? So this is with the gain all the way up. So the Texas mode doesn't have a massive amount of gain. I'll turn the Variac adjust up, and let's just go to master and turn that down a little bit. So we get this without the comp. Now on the front panel, I can tweak the input level. Let's turn that all the way up. It almost sounds like you're running a fuzz into a clean amp, and I'll be honest, I'm actually pretty impressed with that. That feels really good to play, and that is not the worst kind of like digital fuzz into a preamp simulation that I've ever heard there. So that's the Texas mode at those settings. Maybe let's just navigate over and bring the reverb down just a little bit. So we'll bring the reverb level down to -6, and we'll do a similar thing for the delay. I'll just kind of clean up the effects. I can feel some people in the comments screaming that I've got too much delay and reverb. Let's go over to the preamp now and just kind of tweak this. Give me some more mids. I want that cranked up and a little bit more treble on there. Bridge pickup. Alrighty, that's kind of cool. That's the Texas mode. I'll stay on the Strat, but I will navigate over to the British mode. We'll swap over to a Les Paul in a second. What I'm going to do here is just bring the gain down to about 5, and let's just have a listen to what the Texas, not the Texas mode, the British mode does. that's interesting. I kind of like the Texas mode a little bit more with the Strat than this for the kind of gain stuff, but it does sound like a little bit of a like cartoon version of what a Marshall is meant to sound like. So if I bring the bass down a little bit more, let's bring this reverb out completely, just so we can hear it totally dry. Same thing with the delay. So you can see this Rocktron stuff isn't that hard to tweak once you kind of get used to the workflow. It's not as easy as modern stuff, obviously, but compared to maybe some of its contemporary stuff, I think it stacks up pretty well. So you know what? Let's use this Variac adjust and bring it down, and then maybe I can bring up the master on this kind of British mode. Let's hear it. I'm not loving that, to be honest. Let's just persevere a little bit more. What happens if I crank the presence? Ouch. What happens if I turn the presence all the way down? Maybe that's a bit better. Let's go more treble. And maybe a little bit more mid-range, and let's just go a little less gain on here. I guess the Variac adjust is kind of trying to emulate squish or something like that, or power amp saturation. I mean, if you didn't need to rely on a Marshall style sound and you just needed like a clean sound and every now and then a bit of kind of pseudo Marshall, it's not bad, but it's definitely in that kind of pseudo Marshall territory. That's my least favorite preamp mode so far. We got to try Mega though. Let's try Mega. And this is one of those things where I feel like the SamsAmp PSA1 and a couple of other units have this thing that not a lot of modern units do, and it's that like, you know, concrete being hit by a sledgehammer gain sound. So what you do is you turn the gain all the way up, and let's not Variac adjust that. You bring the bass up, you bring the mids right out, and you get this. So yes, that is a ridiculous guitar sound, but you know, Dimebag exists and people love Pantera, and that is also a ridiculous guitar sound, and that gives me some of those kind of just not tube crushing, like I said, kind of concrete being hit with a sledgehammer guitar sounds. Just ridiculous amounts of gain and bass in there. Very, very tight as well. You know, on a guitar with PAF style pickups, I could bring the input level all the way up and we get this. And the pinch harmonics fly. It's totally ridiculous. Let's add some chorus to that because that seems like the right thing to do with this kind of sound. Oh I'm getting carried away. I like this. Maybe let's just let's add a little bit of mid-range into this. Let's see. Variac adjust is cool where it is. Let's see what we can do with some mids, and maybe I'll bring the treble back a little bit, and we'll go for a lead sound now. That's kind of Schultzy or Boston-y or something like that. Maybe a little bit too much mid-range for that, but let's roll with it. Now, you do have other configurations in here. For example, you can select, what do we have? Gain, chorus, delay, reverb. That's where we are at the moment. You've got gain, flanger, delay, reverb, trem, delay, reverb, pitch shift, delay, reverb. Give me some pitch shifting. Let's do an octave down on top of this nasty, nasty guitar sound. How do I actually select that? Why isn't that selecting? This is really, really weird. Let's see. Config select, gain. Do I have to press store or something like that? Phaser you can have on there as well, which is kind of cool, or a wah. So I'm guessing store. Let me just store this at some preset. That will do. And hopefully now I have access to the pitch shifter. So yeah, that one's going to be called LT Clean. Great name for something with the mega amp. And hush, compressor, pitch shift. Yeah, let's see this. Bring it in and give me a bit of pitch shifting. Maybe not blend it all the way in, but give me an octave down. Let's go minus 1200. That's with a fifth on there. So yeah, interesting. Can it do micro pitch stuff? If I set pitch to 0, you can do fine. So you have one voice of fine tuning. Let's try 9 cents. All right. It's not quite as wide as if you had the ability to do minus 9 cents as well, but we could chuck some delay on top of that and maybe a little bit of reverb. Let me just kind of go for a less ridiculous reverb here. We'll bring the decay down to about 30, and I'm going to tweak this preamp in here. Let's see, slightly less gain. Heresy, I know. And let's bring the bass down just a little bit. My computer monitor's gone to sleep as well. Let's hear this. Cool, that's a sound. Let's try some different presets out of here. So there's a couple of interesting ones in like the 20 to 30 bank here. So you have Jimmy Page. Let's have a listen to the Chameleon's take on Jimmy Page. Hey, that's a fun sound. It, I guess, sounds inspired by Jimmy Page. Eric Johnson, ooh la la. Interesting. Dead chorus. You know, that's the kind of sound I think a lot of people think of early modeling devices or units like this. That's what they think they all sound like no mids and just wobble. Let's try this one over here. I found one that I kind of really liked in the 40s. Highway Joan. I wonder if this is based around the Cry of Love song. Shout out to anybody who knows Cry of Love, that first album. In fact, the first two albums are really amazing. You should check them out. Interesting. Can I get a trem sound out of this? I actually have to kind of give the engineers at Rocktron commendation here. Not everything is totally overcooked and outrageous like you hear on a lot of these processors, like bass all the way up, no mids, chorus rate all the way up, delay level to the max, the biggest reverb you can get on every patch. So there are some kind of subtle sounds in here. There's some not too bad sounding presets as well. In fact, I imagine when this came out, if you plugged it in and you had a nice old Strat and you brought up the Stevie Ray preset or the Eric Johnson preset or something, you might go, hey, you know what? That kind of sounds okay considering all the other things this unit can do. What I'm going to do next is disable the power amp and the speaker sim, and we're going to use the built-in speaker sim here, just really quickly so I can give you an idea of where speaker emulation was at when this unit came out. All right, let's hear this clean sound with no speaker sim, and then I'll bring it in on both channels. Sounds the way you would expect. Let's go both, and then we can play around with the 15, 12, 10, 8, or full speaker types. I'm going to bring the reverb in on this now, just so it's not totally dry. And let's go back to the speaker sim. I like the 12 mode on there. You've also got this thing called mic position. We can play around with that. And there's a reactance control in there, which to me sounds like a cab resonance or something like that. So it's not bad with the clean sound, hey? Let's try it with, I don't know, the Texas preamp mode. Kind of gets worse when you turn mic position up. Let's hear it with the mega mode. Oh gosh. I'm kind of scared. Let's go mega, and let's go, what do we have for the speaker sim? We got the 12-inch on. I'm gonna bring the mic position right back to cut down on the fizz, and the reactance down to start. Again, like this entire unit, it's not the worst speaker simulation I've ever heard, but if you were going to use this, I would almost just wholeheartedly say run it into a power amp and a cab and mic the cab, or run it into a modern IR loader with some power amp emulation on there. I think you need that kind of extra color in there, because this just kind of sounds like preset EQ curves on here. But at the same time, it does sound better than the stuff that was out 10 years before this. It's just crazy that 10 years after this, we had the whole new world of impulse responses and hyper realistic sounding stuff. So it's an interesting unit. It's maybe a little bit of a missing link, almost like a rare fossil, the Rocktron Chameleon 2000. Have you got one of these, or the original Chameleon, or the Chameleon Online, or any other Rocktron preamp or kind of effects processor? Let me know in the comments section below. Let me know what you thought of the sounds in this particular video. And yeah, let me know if you want to hear this in an upcoming preamp shootout. It could be an interesting one. And if there's any other Rocktron gear or old 80s rack stuff you want me to try, again, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much to all my patrons who support the channel, and especially to Brian, the patron saint, for sending this one over. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching the video. I'll see you next time.